Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Dennis. So time to do a Ryzen build. Ryzen 7000 series, I might add. So we're going to take that, we're going to put the CPU in, we're going to do the install. Whether we go beyond that and do the actual build, I guess we'll have to go and see. So let's get started, let's install the CPU. Let's use that little guard thing that I bought. See how that keeps the thermal paste from getting all over the place. And let's see if we go beyond that. Here we go. Okay, so here's my motherboard. Anybody that doesn't know, the 7000 series, when it came to AMD, the pins are now on the motherboard. Okay, they're no longer on the CPU. Our CPU is right here. It's the Ryzen 9 7900X. Okay, we're going to put that on here. Obviously, we need memory and a graphics card, the whole works. But before we can do any of that, first thing we'd have to do is get our CPU, put it in here, and make sure, of course, we do it right. Show you how to do that. And then we're going to see what else we need to do. So we're going to install the CPU. It's kind of intimidating when you have a new CPU, new motherboard, and you don't know how everything works. So let's get on with that first, tackle that, and then we'll see where we go from there. So these are the ones I have from Grizzly. Now I've tried these. They're not the same size, shape, anything as the other one that I got that I know fits. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will work. The other thing I have is you have to download the MSI Center update for the LED firmware. That's what's on this USB right here. So that'll be for later on. We'll explain that as we get going. But we're going to try one of these. It's sticky on the other side. I read someplace that don't do that first. Just see if it fits first. And then you can stick it while you'd want to. I don't even know. I'm kind of wondering if this is even legit. One I do know is legit is from Noctua, which is this one right here. Right? That will fit. I've already tried it over top and it will fit fine. So before we put the thermal paste on, let's put in the CPU. Let's make sure it works and go from there again. So first, here's a look at our CPU. You can see how it's quite different than previous AMD Ryzen CPUs. We're going to get it out and we're going to put it in. So taking it out of the package, just be careful when you take it out. Okay, you've got this little divots, so you go in here and put your fingers without touching anything. You still have the triangle. Okay, see that little triangle to help you line it up. So let's look at our motherboard now. Okay, so when we put it in, we have to lift this out. Okay, so pick it out under, okay, let it come up. Now, unlike before, one thing I noticed is you used to do this and it would pop up. Now you have to kind of manually do it, which I don't like at all. You shouldn't need to do that because with the pins being so easily to damage, why are they doing it like that? So to line up our CPU to make sure it goes in okay, you're going to look, you've got the little divots. Okay, you've got the little notches. Okay, so let's make sure we line that up. So we have a notch here, and we have another notch here. So, if I'm doing it right, let's see here. Yep, like this, right? So if I'm doing it right, these notches that are on here and here are going to go on there. Do not damage this, or you will truly regret it. So line this up with the notches that are on here. And see how it's fitting in there? Just make sure that's in there good. Do not touch it. I can't emphasize that enough. Do not touch it. Now carefully lay this back down. Leave this. Don't worry about this. This is going to go. Alright. Okay. When this little knob, okay, it's going to go over top of your thing. When you push this down, this is going to pop off. So this goes down underneath this. Okay, this is the most frightening part. And see? Don't worry about it. Now your CPU's in place. Keep this. If you ever have to return it, you're going to need it. Our CPU's installed. That's all there is to it. But now let's try these little shields that they give you. Well, you don't give you, you have to buy them. And see if they fit in place or if they're even going to work. So one thing else I want to point out, other than the notches, of course, was the triangle. So if you look on your thing, you can see the triangle right here. See that? And if you carefully look in here, you'll see where that triangle was there. So as long as they're pointing toward each other here, you're going to be good to go. Now, because I think I touched that, I'm just going to use, so I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol compound, 95% ethanol, and I'm just going to clean that off just to be sure before I do anything with it. But since I'm going to be working around this a little bit, first let's try this. Let's try the one from Thermal Grizzly. Is it going to fit in there at all? I do not believe it's going to, but let's see. So the cutouts are too wide, too big. Can I push them in? I don't know. Let's see. No, even if I do it the other way. Okay, let's just say if I did it this way. Is it going to work? No. You kind of have to almost make it. And, well, that's just not the way you should have to do it. All right? So, what about if I turn it? Let's try that. And you got to be careful because you don't want this thing jamming itself in there either. And you can't get it out. So, it's not lining up. Okay, enough of that. Now, let's try the one I know does work because I've tried it. And we're going to try this. Now, you have to line it up as well. But you'll see when I do it, it's much, much better. Okay, let's see. Does it go over top of here? Now see, I didn't even bother having to really try much. See how that fits right over top? So once that's on there, and you put your thermal paste, you're not going to get anything into these grooves here. This is completely not covered, okay? So you're not touching anything that's going to matter, all right? Your little plastic shield is going to keep the thermal paste from spreading. You don't have to do that. You can put it on the same as you always do, but spread it out with like a little plastic device that you can buy. I don't have one handy, but that's just a suggestion. So we know that fit perfectly. The other one just does not, and you should not have to mess around with it. I got it on Amazon. I got this one on Amazon as well, but this one works. The other one does not. It says it's from Thermal Grizzly. Whether it's a knockoff, somebody's trying to imitate Thermal Grizzly's actual product, I don't know. There is another one that you can take this completely out and put an AM5 guard, I believe it is, or a shield or something like that. Anyway, if you look on Amazon, look for AM5 and you'll find all kinds of different accessories that will help you out. So other than that, these don't move. Okay, these will come off, your brackets. And the back plate on the back does not come off anymore. So you have to determine, do you need these or do you not need them? And when you put your cooler on, is it going to fit over top? Okay, so that is going to be the next step before you do anything else. But as far as installing the CPU, that's it. You want to use that little plastic guard so you don't get thermal paste down where it doesn't want to go, or you don't want it to go. Done. Simple. And it's very easy to put that in there. So something I wanted to show you. I took the bracket on this side off. This one's still on. But even if I take this one off, which in the past you'd say leave one on so you can get this one ready so it doesn't drop down. Well, on this motherboard that doesn't happen anymore. They're fixed to the back. So either way, you got your little caps for the water cooler I'm going to put on. It's going to go over top. And then that's where you're going to take this little bracket here. All right. And you want to orient it and put it on there. Once I do that on this side, all right, I'll do the same thing on this side facing in. Okay, so one's pointing this way, the other one's pointing this way. Now it's ready to go in the case, other than needing memory. Okay, and an M.2 drive and all that kind of good stuff. It'll be ready to go. But once I do that, it's ready for the CPU AIO that I have. Okay, I have Be Quiet's 360. That's going to go on top of here to keep this nice and cool, or at least as good as I can. And that'll be good. So, memory that I've got for this, I'll put on after I do the brackets and put all that on. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do that now. if you want to see how all that's done, how I put that on, I have a video on it for the Be Quiet Pure Loop 2 FX. Okay, I did the install, temps, all that kind of good stuff. So you can look back and that'll show you everything you need to know about that and how to hook everything up, and you'll be good. All right, so don't worry about that right now. I'm going to skip ahead to that's all done, and we're going to install our memory, and then we'll go from there. So something I wanted to show you that is very important. Okay, so I put the brackets on, put the spacers on, put the screws down to hold down these brackets. Make sure this one is going that way, this one's coming this way. Then when you put your Be Quiet AIO on, it's going to fasten the 2 screws to this. It will fit perfectly over top of your CPU. The only thing you have to remember now is put on your thermal paste and it will fasten down. So the next thing we're going to do is we'll apply the thermal paste, but we're not going to do it until after I get the motherboard in this system and lay the case down. But first we will put in the memory. I'll go ahead and I'll show you that. And I've got a couple other little surprises in return to the in regards to the M.2. Now, they don't have a Gen 5 right now, so you're not going to see that, but it's coming soon. I've just seen the very first one online today. So right now, like I say, I'm going to put in the memory, and then I'm going to put it in the case. So I'm going to be using Vengeance RGB DDR5 memory for AMD. You can see it has Expo on it. So you want AMD Expo. Okay, it works with IQ, of course, because it's Corsair memory, and it's 32 gigabyte, 5600 megahertz. Now, when you're putting the memory in, of course, DDR3, DDR4, and now DDR5, it is slightly different. Okay, just be aware of that. Your little groove where this slot is, okay, they change it every time they do it so that you don't put in the wrong memory, basically. So that's what our memory looks like. Okay, has the RGB. This lights up on the top. And yeah, so it'll sync with your motherboard, it'll sync with your lighting, all that kind of good stuff with your software. So, and of course it uses IQ to do that. So just be aware of that. And now let's install our memory. Okay, so line your memory up. Again, make sure that little break here lines up with the one here. So I've only opened up 2 and 4 because those are the ones we're using. If you use them side by side, you're in single channel. You want to use dual channel because you're going to get more out of your memory. So the first one's going to go in here. Now, does this one move back? Let's have a look. Yes, it does. So 2 and 4 just pushes back. And remember, if you line it up, does it go in there? No. So you turn it around, line it up, and you're good. So slide it into those little divots. And once you're sure you got it in there, you're going to push down. You'll hear it click. And that one's going to click in place. So again, line this up. Line it up on the other side. You want to push it. I just hold it to keep it from moving. So push down on this side. Now when you're pushing down, you hear that little click. Do the same thing on this side. You'll see this pop in. See that? So when that clicks in on both sides, it should not come out. And that's all there is to installing your memory. Now we need our M.2. I'm not going to use this because I don't have an M.2 PCIe 5.0. So I'm going to save it for later when I do get one. For now, I'm going to put an M.2 in here. And then we'll have to install software, obviously. But we'll worry about that later. Right now, we're just going to put one in and put it into the case. So before I install them, just to show you what they are, I have the 2 terabyte XPG. So from Gammix or XPG, Gammix S11 Pro, M.2 2280 PCIe Gen 3 x 4 SSD. And I also have a 4 terabyte that's PCIe 3.0 NVMe M.2 SSD, which both are pretty decent in speeds. So I don't have any problems with storage. I mean, we got 6 terabyte of storage there. When I get the PCIe 5.0 available, then that will just add to even more. So the great thing on this motherboard is there's lots of M.2 slots. So not an issue. And for the price that you pay, there should be. So something I wanted to show you before is, so I had this one already in. So they call these M.3 standoffs and screws. All right. So that's going to go in here. Okay. You're going to screw it in. And this is just going to turn to lock in your M.2. So that's what I've done on this. Now, one thing I discovered when I first did this is this M.2 is going to lock in between these layers because it won't fit over top of it just because of the type of M.2. So that's why I said initially I didn't like these, but I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see how that all works. So putting an M.2 in to install is pretty simple. Take this, line it up, okay, at a 45-degree angle. Once you have it, once you've got it in the right place, okay, it pushes in, it'll go down, and of course we're going to have that thing in there. It's going to fasten it down. We're going to turn it. It's going to lock in place like this one did. And now we have 1, 2 M.2s. There's room for a third one here, and then of course a fourth one there. So a lot of storage on your motherboards these days. All right, comes out the same way. So at this point, our I/O shield, I put it in. Make sure you line it the right way. And the next thing is fitting our motherboard into our case. Okay, so we've got 2 M.2 drives in there now. Room for 2 more. Memories in, CPUs in. And of course, when we move over to the other side of this, this is where you have to be careful because we've already fitted our rad in here. This is going to have to set to the side a little bit, okay, when we're ready, so it doesn't interfere with the motherboard. Motherboard is going to go here, and then we just got to secure it. Now, because this is a little heavier motherboard than usual, when I go to do it, I'm actually going to set the case and lay it down flat, just to make things a bit easier. Okay, so I have 1, 2, and 3 M.2 drives installed. Everything is ready to go. I've put the motherboard in the system. Of course, I laid it down. All the standoffs are fastened on, okay? There's none here because it's got that little thing to hold everything in place. And that's it. So now we're going to apply our thermal paste to our CPU. We've got our little plastic guard so it won't spread when the AIO is put on. And yeah, so just apply your thermal paste the way you always would. And don't worry about it. So that is what we're going to do. And our bracket's already here. So we're just going to fasten it to that and go from there. So I'm going to put the same amount of thermal paste as I always have, which is just a little bit. I might even go less on this. I just don't know, but we'll see how it comes out. And I don't know if that's enough, but who knows anymore nowadays. I think it's enough, but we're going to put our AIO on. We will be running temps to see how the temperatures are afterward. And if I have to take it off and we'll put it back on, well, we'll do that. So we have a couple cables on our AIO. But most importantly, the thing is lining up this. Now remember that the pump is on the top when this is setting up. All right, so I am going to make this so you can see it a little better. All right, and we have these 2 screws. Okay, one here, and they're going to line up with the brackets. So that is our goal right now, is to line that up and put it on. Once you get the first one, the other one is really not much of a problem. Just make sure you line it up. Okay. Hold that with your thumb or finger and start screwing this down. Do a little bit on this side. Just enough to hear that it's going in. And then do the same thing on the other side as well. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut a little bit more and tighten this one down. So that's snugging down. We're going to go one more time on the other side. Again, don't over tighten, just go loose. You'll feel when it stops because it will not go any further once it's tightened on. It'll just stop like that there. And we'll do on this side, just finish it off. And once you're done, it simply won't turn anymore. Now I have to plug in some cables from the AIO, but I think at this point we're going to set it up and then start plugging everything in. And that way I think you'll be able to see it a little bit easier. So this cable here is for your RGB, okay, adjustable RGB. And then we have one cable here, which is for your motherboard, for your fans, for PWM, right? And that's, of course, from the RAD. So that's it for now. We're going to set it up and we'll continue. So for those that are wondering, power supply is going to be the Corsair RM series. So the RM850 ATX power supply. It's got all the extra cables I'm going to want. It's fully modular. So if I don't need a cable, I don't need to use it. And an old but trusty and reliable GTX 1080 will go in here temporarily until I get myself probably a 4070 Ti, I'm thinking. The price is still not what I want, but I think it's within reach for now because this is probably going to be my system. And so we're going to put that in there. It's just going to slide in here, fasten on the back, and then I'll do all the cables. And that'll be the end of it, other than putting the graphics card in and hooking up our cables to the case. And I'll try and show you as much of that as I can as we go along. So with this case, this comes out. That's going to go on the back of your power supply. Okay, you can just set it like that. Screw it on, make sure it's all lined up. It'll take a little bit. And then you're just going to slide it back in, and then you use all your cables that you need for whatever it is you're doing. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, and they're just going to screw right on here once I'm done. So something I wanted to show you that maybe a lot of people don't show you, even myself sometimes, is the cables that I've chosen to put in here. So I have two separate cables. Now PCIe cables, you can separate them off, but given the difference in the 4070 Ti has a special connector, you may or may not need the cables. So I've got one SATA cable just for the hub for the case. I have two CPUs. I have the 24 pin for power, it plugs in two different spots. And I have one more here for PCIe. All right. So those are the cables I'm going to be using. And now it's just a matter of feed the cables to the bottom of the case. Put that in. This goes face down. And that'll be it. This is what I'm talking about with the PCIe cable. So you've got two ends. So an 8, and then this is usually a 6, but it could be an 8. So we're going to feed these cables in. Power supply is going to go in upside down. Once we have everything out of the way, this is going to go in, and then you're just going to be able to tighten these. So power supply's in. We're going to work on our cables for our case. I'm not going to go through the whole gamut of showing all that, except for the front panel connectors. We will show that part, and maybe a couple other things. So just going to speed along, and when I get to parts that I know you're going to need, I'll stop at those. Okay, so just want to show you what I've got done so far. So the two CPU cables are coming up here. I have plugged them into the motherboard already. Your 24 pin, and I just checked all the cables here to make sure everything's good. Power supply's in, and the cables from the case are in there now. So I'm going to show you where those all went. So inside the case, we have our USB 3.0. Now, in this case, only has a power. So there's your power and your power PLED, okay? And this is for your graphics card. So our AIO is on there, our M.2s are all in here. And we plugged in the 24 pin here and the two 24 pins up here. And I plugged in the corner down here, the HD audio. So the only thing that's left is front panel connectors. The top two on the left is your positive and negative PLED. And then right beside that, the next two pins on the right are your power. That's it for plugging those in. And this just goes into your USB 3.0 right there. And so once I plug that in, put my graphics card in, and that's it. And then we're going to fire it up. And now this does have a history, apparently, of taking a very long time to boot. So we're going to find out just how long that is once we do it. So I'm going to plug all that in, put the graphics card in, and that'll be it. Okay, so I've connected our cables here and the USB 3 here. I tried to put it over on the side here, but it actually interferes with this. I never noticed that before, because this is actually too tight to actually put it in here. So if you want to put it in here, you're going to have to take this off. There's a screw on the top on the other side, so you can always do that. It almost feels wrong, but I'm going to put a 1080 in here for now until I can get a, well, probably a 3070 if I can get my hands on one, or I don't know, maybe something better. Took the PCIe cable, took it from just down in the opening down here. Didn't really make much difference. So we're just going to line that up and plug it in. Okay, so put the graphics card in, put your screws in, then put your cable in. Don't pay attention to what I did. I tightened this all up just to make it look a little bit better. I might have to put another one here, just to fasten that down there too, just so nothing is moving around. And on the back, just remember sometimes these are misaligned, and I actually had to unscrew one, kind of lower it down a little bit, and then everything fit in place after that. So that's my dilemma that I had. I thought I had to take this off, but it turns out I did not. But hey, everything's a challenge. So that'll go back on there. This just gets finger tightened into the holes, and you'll be good. All right, so I have to put the antenna on here. Hey, that's the only thing really left, is to put these antenna on. You can see on the inside, everything is good to go. Hopefully I haven't done anything wrong. And nothing new in the front. And our cabling in the back is pretty good. Nothing too bad about that. Lots of room to hide the cables on the bottom. So, with that all being said, I am going to put our antenna on and start it up and see if we have that problem with the long boot times. Okay, so I'm ready to turn it on, but let's find out. Go time. Oh, okay. That's different, but okay. I'm happy with that. Everything's lighting up. Now we're going to wait and see if we get a boot screen. That will be the ultimate, did it work? So, I know it can take a very long time. And in fact, it can take so long, from what people are saying, that you think there's something wrong with your system. So, I'm going to just let it sit here and see just how long it really takes. Because from everything I can see, everything is working. Everything, like water cooler, RGB, cable, everything. It says it's getting a signal. Okay, there we go. It detected the HDMI. I don't know if you noticed that. And okay, new CPU installed. Press Y to reset fTPM. Okay, I didn't quite catch that message, but anyway, it's doing something. So now we just wait. I've never seen that before, to be honest. You're seeing in real time just exactly how long this all takes. And I don't think I have an operating system on any of these, so if I do, it's going to be a very big surprise to me. Okay, so F1 to run setup. Let's do that. And we have a boot screen. Thank God. Because that would really bother me. One of the things I want to pay attention to, so I'm going to focus on the screen here now. Okay, so one of the things I want to point out is you can see that the core temperature right now is at 38 degrees. Motherboard's at 28, V-core 1.382 volts, and I'm running in UEFI mode right now. So I just have to make sure it stays on that. So because they're ready for Windows 11, you can see that the fTPM is actually enabled by default. All right. Never seen that before either. So again, this is all new stuff for me on a new motherboard that costs far too much. So let's have a look at some of the specs here. CPU ratio 47, 12, 1. Okay, anyway, you can see all this. And we're running at 4.7 gigahertz. Now I have Expo profile memory. Okay, so if I click on this, hopefully this will work. What am I going to do? I have no idea why this is not working. Maybe I have to click memory. 4800. Oh, there we go. It just took a little bit. Okay, so it's showing we have DDR5 running at 5600 megahertz. So it just defaulted. I'm very happy with that. That just is a lot less hassle that you and I will have to do. Again, we're in bank 2 and 4. It shows at DIM A2 and DIM B2. So they're actually naming it properly for a change. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. So I want to go, and the only other thing I want to do, let's have a look through here. I'm just quickly looking through, see if there's anything. Storage, let's see what it says. Okay, it's recognizing all the M.2 drives. The Sabrent, which is 1 terabyte. Fan info, okay, it's just got its default curves. CPU fan, 4240 RPM. CPU core is now at 39. And again, I have no idea what this is going to get to. So I will be putting this through a lot of testing beyond just this. And in fact, I'll probably do that for the next video so I can show you much more in depth of everything I'm getting, when I'm gaming, all that kind of stuff, because this is intended to be my gaming system, my new one. And hardware monitor, let's just have a look. CPU socket. Doesn't seem like it changed anything. Oh, okay. Chipset. I have no idea what this does, by the way. I think it's because it's set at smart fan mode, it's really not going to do anything. So let's just exit out of there. And let's see. Our build date is the 31st of August, 2022. So there probably could be a newer one. That's our version E7D67AMS.120. Running a 7900X 12-core processor, just above 32 gigabyte of memory. And of course with the Wi-Fi. I'm very happy with this. Now all I have to do is start the software, do all that kind of stuff, and then we will come back with the next video showing you how this works with software, in terms of benchmarks, all that kind of stuff. And more importantly, where do the temps go when we're gaming? All right, everybody, so that's it. So I was pretty nervous over this build just because they talk about the temperatures and how high they get. This is creeping up. It's now hit 40 degrees, and that's on idle. So I'm going to keep an eye on it and see what it does over time. I'm going to report all that in my next video, so you'll see everything you want to know, everything you are kind of maybe anxious to find out. So stay tuned if you want to see all that information, because I'm going to do a lot of testing, because this is going to be my new system and I want it to work great. And when I come back to the next one, hopefully I'll have a new graphics card as well. This is just a 1080. I'm hoping to upgrade to either something in the 30 series for sure, but I'm actually leaning toward the 4070 Ti, because even though it's still pretty high, I don't think I'm going to get a better price than that. And it's going to work the way I like it. I don't know. We'll find out. You give me some guidance. What do you think? What do you think you'd like to see in this for the next one? Anyway, showed a lot of stuff. I was really worried it was going to just not boot up, because they said it'd take a very, very long time. It didn't take that long. It took a little while, but certainly not as long as I was thinking it might take. So yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but it's not excessive. Like some people were telling me in the comments. So maybe some people have different experiences. Maybe there's different BIOS versions. Who knows? Anyway, if you like the video, hit that like. If you're new here, think about subscribing. Hit that bell for notifications as videos as they come up in the future, especially this one. And leave me a comment. Tell me what you think, what you'd like to see in the next video, what you want me to test, and if I'm able to, tongue-tied. So tell me what you want to see. If I'm able to, I will definitely put that in the next video, if I can. And as always, much appreciated that you're watching. If you got this far, thank you. Truly appreciate it. In fact, put A57. A57. I don't expect to see any A57s, but if I see one, I'll know we really like the channel, or you're just crazy like me, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.